Welcome to Restoration RV. I'm your host, Stephanie Dean, your resident communication professor and travel nerd. I've been traveling my entire life, living in everything from teepees to campers, all over the US to hostels in the Alps and hotels overlooking the gorgeous beaches of Greece. I'm currently in the Southeast looking for my next restoration project and trying to live as sustainably as possible, which is what this podcast is all about: renovation, minimizing, and sustainability. Welcome to episode number 5. This is the second episode in a series of 3 about boondocking. Last week we discussed what boondocking is. This week we're going to hear what car camping is from someone who spent most of his 20s crossing the US and climbing. So this week we're going to interview Josh. Josh spent most of his 20s boondocking and car camping across the US while he worked at Yellowstone National Park and as a climbing instructor. Let's call in Josh now.
Hello?
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well.
I want to welcome you to Restoration RV and thank you for being here.
Very excited about it.
Thank you. Thank you. You're actually one of the ones that when I said, I want to do this crazy thing, I want to try podcasting, you were like, you should totally go for it. So I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're so talented in many ways. So
Aww.
It's just a natural fit.
He's saying that so I don't get him on Thanksgiving. No, I'm just kidding.
So the check can be made too.
Exactly. So let's start out by telling me what made you, I know you had to get from our parents' house. Were they living in Alabama or Virginia at the time?
The first road trip I did out west, I started from Tennessee.
Oh, Tennessee.
And then... actually, the first 2 were in Tennessee, and then after that, they were living in Birmingham.
Okay. See, our dad was a travel nurse, so he traveled. So I was in Sweden at the time, and I didn't really keep up with. I forgot completely that they were ever in Tennessee. So you left from Tennessee, and you were going to Yellowstone, right, on that first trip?
Correct.
Okay, so tell me why you decided to car camp to get there instead of flying or any other, way of getting there.
Well, I took a summer job in Yellowstone, and I wanted to have my vehicle out there. It was kind of a primary reasoning, but secondary reasoning was car camping is just a lot cheaper than a lot of other options. I was 20 and enough money to make it to Yellowstone, but that was about it. So every road trip I did, cause I've done about 4 road trips coast to coast, and taken many interstates, I-40, I-70, I-80, I-90. And yeah, I tried to do them as affordable as possible because I just spent most of the early 20s completely penniless.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. But you did a lot of things outside and getting out in nature. Like you were a big climber for a long time, weren't you?
Oh, yeah. I've done a lot of like guiding and climbing all out west. And, the Tetons and different places in Idaho, Montana, and Colorado, and California, and Utah. And like that was a lot of the drive for me was, how can I get to these places and spend as much time near crags as possible? And the easiest way was just sleeping in the back of the car.
Mm-hmm. And you still do it, don't you? Actually, you and your wife still do. Well, maybe not right now, but
we do. It's a little easier now because, God, that was 14 years ago. Mm-hmm. So 14 years ago, I drove this little tiny 2-door GMC Jimmy.
Yeah.
A little tiny SUV, and I would be sleeping in the vehicle on top of all my stuff because I literally had everything I owned in the back of the vehicle. Mm-hmm. Luckily, I didn't own that much, but still, it was a little cramped. I'd have it all pushed to one side and trying to sleep, and had all the seats down and stuff. But now I've got a Subaru Outback, and I can easily sleep in the back, and I have a roof rack, so.
Yeah.
Things are a lot easier when you can, afford to get the car that you can actually sleep in.
Yeah, that you can stretch out. I remember one time, I think we were Skyping. I want to say you were in Yellowstone or Jackson Hole or somewhere around there, and you had just been climbing, and you told me something like, I just was free climbing, don't tell mom.
Yeah.
Because mom
And
would
you
be
still
free.
probably shouldn't listen to this podcast because even though that was years ago, I still may get in trouble. But anyway,
Yeah.
I did a couple of ascents on Grand Teton without ropes. It's pretty common in some circles,
Hmm.
but still, when you tell people that you did that, the climbing is really easy. It's barely fifth class climbing, but it's when you tell people that, hey, I climbed this big mountain with no ropes, doesn't sound very safe.
Yeah, they look at you like you're nuts. But right now, everyone's nuts.
Which, I mean, part of that's true.
Well, a lot of people, when I said that I want to go full time in an RV and hit the road, I'm luckily found someone who doesn't think I'm nuts personally, but for the most part, people think I'm nuts. Luckily, John's he's just easygoing. He'll come along with me. And I was actually telling him about you because he didn't know about this because he met, we met way after you were doing all of this. But I was telling him about your car camping and going across and staying in Yellowstone and all. And I looked at him and I said, see, it's not just me.
Yeah.
You may not have known what you were getting into.
Absolutely. It's definitely in our blood because mom and dad moved all the time. And I remember different camping trips, and you grew up in Washington
teepees.
State where you went camping in teepees and all this other stuff. So it was definitely something we were trained to do.
Yeah, definitely. I hate that I missed Yellowstone this year on our big epic road trip. We're going to have to get it next time around because that was the one thing of all of the things that did go wrong in this trip. I could roll them all, but I missed not getting to see Yellowstone. That was the part I was looking forward to most. And I remember you and I sat down with a map and you're like, okay, this is Jackson Hole. You've got to go here. You've got to do this. You've got to, drink beer here. And I missed all of it, unfortunately. Okay.
Yeah, it's a beautiful area up there. A lot of good memories.
Yeah. So let me ask you some particulars so boondocking is for, the new people joining in. The last episode, I talked a lot about what the specifics of boondocking are. And it's basically camping without hookups. And you can be camping, any kind of camping without hookups, really. More often with some kind of rig. And so what you were doing, I've heard people call it car camping. I've heard people call it boondocking. There's a big group of people that are doing it around the Quartzsite area where they not follow a guy. I don't mean like a shaman. He's cool, but that's not the vibe of this group. But there's a guy named Bob who has a YouTube program called Cheap RV Living. And he interviews a lot of people that go car camping and RV camping and live in vans and live in, various forms of mobile living. And so that's kind of what you were doing. You were boondocking in a car. So how did you do some specific things? Like how did you shower or go to the bathroom? And I cannot believe I'm interviewing my brother about how he went to the bathroom in his 20s, but I am. And how did you make car camping doable? Because I don't think it was as popular back then.
It wasn't as accepted. I think we're living in an era of the van life. Mm-hmm. Where a lot of people are living in vans or motorhomes or different types of things, and so much more with social media. It's so much more socially acceptable
and romanticized,
or socially widespread. Where in my age, all the friends I had, like we'd go out and we'd either sleep in the back of our SUV or car, or just throw a tent out. So. I had a few tricks that would keep the cost down. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite tricks was I would stop later in the day so I'd spend a lot of my day instead of just driving, seeing different attractions. And then when I knew it was ready to stop for the night, I'd usually stop later, like 9 or 10, and I would try to find a nice hotel, like kind of like a mid-grade Hilton or Hampton or something like that. And then I would drive to the back and park, and then I would just crawl on my sleeping bag in the back of my car and sleep there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of benefits to that. Usually, there's a safety element in those type of, because it's like a group mentality, like you're around a lot of people, so theoretically you're safe.
Yeah, yeah.
And then another thing is I would get up and I would get up super early, like 6 a.m, and I would go through and get continental breakfast at the hotel before I left.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably not the most
don't try this at home,
favorably looked on thing I did,
yeah.
But it kept me very well fed, and only a few times I got kicked out by saying, "Hey, I don't think you're staying here." So I always fessed up, and like, yeah, no, I slept in the back of the parking lot. I'll leave. But yeah, no, I got a lot of great meals out of these hotels, and I very much appreciate how nice they are. But if I needed a shower, there were kind of two options. There were, I guess 3 options. Truck stops have showers, and you go in, you pay $1 or $2. They'll give you a number, and over the PA system, they'll say number 12, your shower's ready, or something like that. So
I think it's up to like $10
that's
now.
a good cheap way.
Yeah.
They're what?
I think they're like $10 now.
In 2005, they were, or 2006, they were like, a couple bucks. But,
yeah.
then I would also, a lot of hotels, after breakfast, I'd go and talk to the clerk. Most of the time, clerks are just people that are trying to do their job and they're usually, more often than not, I've run into just some really great people there. And I would just ask them, hey, did anyone check out to where, like, I can just go take a quick shower in these rooms? And I mean, a lot of times they let me. So that one was very hit or miss, but, I'd get a couple of free showers there. And then the other option are hostels. Hostels will let you take a shower for $1 or $2. And most cities that have any type of attraction have a hostel. Like Jackson Hole is tiny, but it has a hostel. So you can always look up, or ask around about different hostels, and they'll always let you shower for $1 or $2.
Yeah, hostels are my saving grace through Europe. It was always easy, and it's a fun place to go meet different people too.
Absolutely. And then for bathroom, it was mostly different gas stations or rest stops. I mean, that's a pretty simple one. Anyone that's done any type of road trip has, usually has their pee plan ready to go before they leave.
And if worse comes to worse, and you're out like in the boonies, I mean, there's always cat holes and 5-gallon buckets. And there's ways.
Absolutely. And I mean, just, a lot of different parks. You actually said this in your podcast last week, and a lot of times boondocking and car camping and tent camping, like, there's a lot of similar mannerisms, like, don't put your tent right beside someone else if you have all the land available, or, if you pack it in, you pack it out, and like, just dig a hole if you need to use the restroom. Don't just leave that for all your fellow campers to walk over or anything else like that. So.
And if you have a dog, pick up after them as well. We have a Jarvis, and we pick up after him. Yeah.
So just, use a little common sense and just be a friendly neighbor.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's something we all could learn more right now. So one question that I particularly have, because I've never really car camped. I feel like I've camped in almost every other kind of contraption. I don't think TP camping is that common. But climate control, I've always, because you hear these horrific stories about like kids baking in the back of cars that have, were forgotten, or pets baking in cars. So in my brain, and my brain could be totally off on this, I am willing to admit this, but in my brain, if you're going cross country car camping in the summer, how do you climate control? And then I guess in the winter too, how do you make it so that you're not going to either freeze to death or suffocate in the heat or bake?
On when in the summertime,
Yeah.
usually you just open up windows and vent out. They make little fans that can plug into your cigarette lighter adaptation, your little AC thing.
Yeah.
So fans help, trying to get some type of cross breeze and, things like trying to keep your vehicle cool throughout the day. So like if I'm car camping and I'm out, like in wilderness or, BL lands or, yeah.
BLM,
So, try to find shade, try to keep your car cool throughout the day. That really helps. Maybe you run it just a little bit to like run the AC to cool your car down. So, prepping your car a little bit before the night hits.
Mm-hmm.
And out west, nights are just cooler. I mean, you're going to have hot days. Nights just don't have that hot, muggy that some of the South does.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the South, it can be kind of hot, sticky, and miserable. I've had some really sweaty nights in a tent that just was just like, it was tough. So battery operated fans, and battery operated, just any kind of AC or cross breeze that you can get going. The summer or the winter's great. I love car camping in the winter when it's, freezing cold outside. Cause then I've got a bunch of 0 degree, like big sleeping bags I can crawl down in. And then you can, there's a little trick I use, when we're, ski teams is, you boil water and you put it into an Nalgene bottle, like a thermos bottle.
Uh-huh.
And then you take that in the sleeping bag with you and you hold it against your chest. And it keeps your core body warm, and it keeps it kind of conditions the whole sleeping bag to be hotter.
Oh, okay. John had a trick too about cold weather that he learned in the military because, well, I mean, you're in the military too. Apparently there's a lot of tricks. And so one of them was stuffing your clothes at the bottom of your sleeping bag. So the next morning when you put them back on, they're already warm. Your body doesn't have to work at warming them up. But also he said something about not having those clothes on while you're sleeping in the sleeping bag, in a proper sleeping bag, helped somehow.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's absolutely true. Sleeping bags are designed for your body heat to radiate through the sleeping bag, and the insulation keeps that body heat in.
Ah.
So if you have a bunch of clothes or layers on, then it doesn't have that body heat to regulate the temperature.
Ah, that totally makes sense. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I know another trick that we learned kind of the hard way over the summer. We were in our pop-up, and our pop-up does have air conditioning, but of course we didn't want to be in an RV park. And we did stay in a lot of RV parks, mainly because we had a student with us and I didn't want to torture the student more than we already did. But one of the things that we learned is even that tiny air conditioner couldn't compete with some of the, summer Southwest heat. So when we would get, especially around Lake Mead, when it got to like 114, it was ridiculously hot. So what we ended up doing was cutting our stay there, I think like 3 days short. It was quite a bit short, and going up to elevation. Just getting up to elevation made a drastic difference. And out there, wasn't that really hard to find elevation? You just had to literally look for it. You had to pull out a map and look for it. But you could easily get, 20, 30 degrees difference just going up some.
Yes, absolutely.
So having car camped and having boondocked quite a bit, and having those experiences that you did in your 20s, well, I keep saying that, but you still do. I mean, you go out to Chattanooga and you camp, and your awesome wife is very adventurous as well with you. But is this something that you would suggest others do? And if so, what kind of tips and tricks for noobs would you have?
So I would absolutely suggest anyone to take road trips, do car camping. Car camping is the absolute easiest thing to do. It's a little more difficult if you have like a small sedan or anything. Mm-hmm. But if you have any type of SUV or station wagon where the seats lay down.
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy to do. And so if you've never done this before, I would say first thing you want to do is find a friend's yard or somewhere to go try it out before you ever leave town.
Yeah.
So kind of get your systems in place. Like figure out, are you going to cook your meals? Or are you going to take dehydrated meals? Or, like get your meal plan together. I did one road trip from Alabama to California because I took a job in Yosemite for a while. Uh-huh. And I went the whole trip eating MREs, the military ready.
Yeah, those don't taste good.
It was the most miserable food experience I ever had in my life. I got like halfway through and I was just tossed them. I was like, I'm done. Mm-hmm. We need to go to a grocery store. I'll eat tuna for the rest of this trip.
Yeah.
I would rather do that than eat these MREs because they were terrible.
I don't know if Mom ever told you about the time Dad bought like years worth of those. He bought like cases of them and she was so mad.
I think that's one of the cases I took.
Oh, ew.
Because I got it from Dad. Yeah. And it was terrible. So anyways, so have your food plan. If you've never cooked on a camp stove, try it out before you go camping. I just renovated my kitchen and my wife and I cooked all our meals for 3 weeks on a camp stove.
Yeah.
I mean,
great.
We just had that exception. And then, so yeah, it kind of brings me to the next point. So in the military, they teach us, sometimes like the camping that we do in the military, like it kind of sucks. Mm-hmm. Like the term embrace the suck or anything, but everyone has one little creature comfort. Mm-hmm. So like that one little thing that no matter how hot you are, no matter how cold you are, whatever it is, there's something that you can kind of latch onto that's like, at least I have this.
Yeah, yeah.
And mine has always been coffee. Like, I love coffee. I love good coffee. So I've always had some type of French press. I've gone to Haiti and Africa and all these other countries, and I've done road trip coast to coast, and I've always had a French press because I cannot go without my coffee. That's my one creature comfort. And that's the one thing that, like, no matter how miserable I am, I'm not saying car camping is miserable by any means, but if you ever get to that point where something's not going to go right or it wasn't as good of a trip, at least you have something that you can fall back on, or like, at least this makes me happy.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, have your little creature comforts, like, chairs make a huge difference in car camping. Mm-hmm. Because, if you have an RV, if you have like pull behind or, whatever style RV, usually they have some type of seating inside. Mm-hmm. But if you're car camping, you don't really have that option unless you want to sit beside the steering wheel the whole time. But so have, a couple of fold out chairs. You can get them super cheap at various box stores or all the way up to, Eno makes some, and, they're like, they have chairs up to $150, $200 for camping. Mm-hmm.
Or even a hammock. So, a chair is better than a hammock because you can put it anywhere. But
absolutely. But, when you're cooking or doing different things, you absolutely are going to want a chair to sit around.
Mm-hmm. Even if you do have a fancy pants RV or pull behind or whatever you have, sitting inside the whole time kind of sucks anyway. Like having chairs to sit outside. Most of the people that are getting out there and not wanting to be in a traditional sticks and bricks want to be out and see things that are not inside the confines of their RV or camper anyway. So yeah, I 100% agree with having a chair.
Absolutely. And take some type of form of entertainment. We always had frisbees to throw, or I would set up a slack line and we would, walk up and down the slack line and do tricks and stuff. There's all kinds of different games you can take. Mm-hmm. Like, if you have a family, they have portable cornhole boards or, portable different games and stuff like that. So, bring its form of entertainment.
Yeah. We have, for entertainment, we have Jarvis and going on walks with Jarvis. Jarvis is our Very pretty, very stupid dog. Or actually, he's smart enough that he's difficult. That's it. Very pretty, very difficult dog. But walking him is a great form of entertainment, and just like people watching and looking at things and looking at nature, and that's always fun. We also would bring, when we got the pop-up, it came with a TV, and we tried putting the TV in because you're going to get rainy nights too. It's not going to be like perfect weather every day. So on a couple of rainy nights, we tried putting up the TV, and it was just a pain. Like, it was a pain to pull it up. The sound was weird. Like, it just wasn't fun. But we found downloading a couple of films on our iPads. We didn't use as much electricity. You don't even have to have electricity. And it was kind of a great, snuggle on the bed or couch and watch a movie together. Easy way to do it. So these people that have like the big TVs, we tried it. At least for us, it kind of sucked. Books and creature comfort. I was thinking when you were talking about that, I'm not a morning person. My brother knows I'm not a morning person. Right. But
the most dangerous time of the day is any morning around.
Yeah. But ironically, you would like me as a camper, I think, because my favorite thing, my creature comfort thing to do when camping in any way, is to take my camp stove and make pancakes for everybody. That's like the thing I love to do early. Get up before people wake up. It's beautiful. It's so quiet and kind of misty usually out, especially in the South, out, and just sitting there and making pancakes. And I also have a French press, drinking my French press coffee super early in the morning when camping. Maybe that's when we would get along in the mornings.
When I used to like climb because we go climbing pretty early, so we would camp at the crag. I used to make pancakes, and then I'd put peanut butter on them and a banana on top of that.
Ooh.
And that would last. It was so tasty. It would last so long. It would give you so much energy.
That sounds really good.
Oh yeah, it was wonderful. So another thing that most people probably aren't thinking of is have a rain plan.
Yeah.
So a couple years ago, my wife and I, on the umpteenth time we're camping in the rain, we saw another couple in a different camp spot, and they had an awning over their picnic table.
Mm-hmm.
And we watched them, like, not like creepily watch, but we watched them like they would cook in the awning, and then they would like, play card games under the awning, and like they kind of lived under this awning. I was like, oh my gosh, like I've been doing this for 12 years, and I'm just now seeing this.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went I think on the way home we stopped at REI and bought an awning. Like, yeah. I think it was that immediate.
We have
and
one.
we've been using this awning every time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so just some type of because I don't care if the forecast says it's not going to rain, it's somehow going to rain, always. And if you have a rain plan, then you can at least go out there and have a great time.
Yeah, and it's still pretty. It's kind of how you look at it. We have one, and we got ours just at Walmart. It's not even a fancy pants one. It wasn't their cheapest, but it wasn't, a ridiculous one either. And it's modular. You can hook a tent to one side. You can hook a projection screen to one side, a bug net. That's what made me get it is with our pop-up, and I have 2 kids, and those kids one of the kids has a boyfriend. Having a place for everyone to kind of stay and being able to hook tents around the pop-up as well was a nice addition to have. But yeah, having an awning or some type of way to get out of the rain but not be in your vehicle is awesome as well.
Because sometimes some of my favorite moments camping has been cooking in the rain, or like hanging out in the rain, because it's beautiful. Like, it has that like real, the rain smell.
Yeah.
And it's a really good experience to be out in this.
And how often do you do that? Like when you're at home and you're sticks and bricks, you don't really get out in the rain. If it's raining, you kind of stay inside. Jarvis, my non-precious, lovely but horrible dog, thinks he's too precious to get his paws wet in the grass. But if we're out camping, he's like, okay, whatever, I don't care. But at home, he won't put his paws in the grass because he's precious.
That makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Okay. Any last little bit of wisdom? You had really good ideas here about, packing in, packing out, having a plan, a rain plan too. I may have interrupted you because I am the queen of interruptions. But one thing I was thinking of too, when you said that, was not just for like how you'll be in that space, if it's raining, but also how you're going to get in and out of that space when it's raining. Like if your road looks great going in, but then you get, in the summer in the South, you can have like monsoon type of rains. Is that road still passable on the way out? And if not, what are you going to do?
Right. What is your vehicle capable of doing?
Yeah.
I have seen little Honda Accords be able to get up and down steep roads because they're front wheel drive and their engine's putting a lot of weight and they're getting traction. Mm-hmm. Where, little tiny pickup trucks or something just couldn't get up these hills. Mm-hmm. So just, know your vehicle's capabilities and know your gear. That's something that they teach us in climbing is always know your gear and know how to use it in all ways it can be used.
Yeah.
Your jacket might fold up into its pocket or, it might have gear will surprise you on how many different things it can do. So learn the different things, like kind of know your gear. If you take care of your gear will take care of you.
Mm-hmm. And don't buy crap gear. Like I hate to say it. You've told me this multiple times, the poor man buys twice, not meaning go out and buy the most expensive thing because it's got a brand name on it, but actually look for quality versus quantity in your gear. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Buy the best you can afford.
Yeah, exactly.
So that doesn't, I've never had, I don't have any Arc'teryx clothing. Mm-hmm. That's like one of the highest brands that you can have. But I have nice stuff. Like I have great jackets that'll keep me dry. I have, pants that'll hold up when I'm climbing and stuff. Mm-hmm. You don't necessarily have to have the top of the top
or the brand
to be very well equipped.
Right. Exactly. And
absolutely.
That's something that you learned from our grandfather. And honestly, that I've kind of learned a little bit from you about quality over quantity. It's better to mm-hmm. look for the quality in something. Don't look at the name brand or the whatever. Especially because sometimes your life is in the hands of your gear. It's not just your fun. And then I think what you said earlier about testing, have a camp in your driveway, camp in your neighbor's driveway, but test out your systems and your processes before you hit the road, because that's just going to make you have more fun with less risk of it all going, foobar.
Yeah. Test your jacket. I mean, jackets lose waterproofing over time. I re-waterproof my rain jackets once a year.
I didn't know that.
So, yeah, I mean, just test your gear, make sure it works. Mm-hmm. And it's okay. I buy a lot of gear secondhand.
Yeah.
So look for the deals. There's a couple of websites, and I know Patagonia has gotten into Warnwear, mm-hmm. Which is a website that is all secondhand Patagonia gear.
Cool.
And there's a lot more gear companies that are trying to salvage gear that's out there that's not being used and resell it to consumers that are looking for affordable but really good gear.
Yeah.
So, shop around, see what you can find.
Definitely good advice. Thank you so much, Josh. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
So you would totally tell people to boondock.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Or just get out there. It doesn't matter how you're getting out there. Get out there any way that you can and make sure you have a great time.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes it's just to do it. I mean, don't just do it stupidly, but just take a chance and get out there. More likely than not, you're going to have a great time.
Yep.
Thanks for listening to Restoration RV with me, your traveling host, Steph. I upload every Wednesday about all things travel, sustainability, and healthy living on the road. If you like the show and want to know more, check out my website at restorationrv.net or leave me a review on iTunes. Join me next week when we go through the most popular or not so popular apps that help you find the right spot on the road.